Hello, Don in London, August 28th, bank holiday weekend here in London. Notting Hill Carnival no doubt is underway, and it's going to rain, but good weather for tomorrow hopefully. And New York, well, I hope everybody's okay as best they can be under the circumstances with the hurricane. My video is all about recovery, and recovery from addiction to substance and behaviour. My substance, alcohol. My behaviour could be equally addictive, and I guess I could have been equally addicted to other substances. I still drink coffee too, far too much, but nowhere near as pernicious as being an alcoholic. So now, an alcoholic in recovery for some time, learning how to live life one day at a time, and be as happy as I can be if life is happy, and also be sad if life is sad. Taking life on life's terms today, rather than trying to make it okay all the time, or suppressing different ways of looking at the world because they were not agreeable to other people. So addictions to substance and behaviour, alcohol in my case, and behaviour could be equally addictive around people, places and things, trying to be in the right place with the right people, doing the right things. And if it had been other years, going to the carnival, drinking too much, probably being very silly, and losing a couple of days where it could have been very enjoyable sober or not, and I would have been able to make a better choice about either being there or not being there, rather than being obligated to be with people who were going just because. So these days I don't drink just because. I know one drink will do more damage than good, and one drink will lead to another and another, and I hold my sobriety precious to me. It's a part of me these days rather than being a drinker. And what's the difference? Well, 35 years of drinking, always drinking was about conviviality, joyfulness, or taking the edge off my feelings, taking the edge off the other things I used to be addicted to, like work and relationships, trying to be right, and also having high expectations that people had the same outlook as me, to be generous and loving. And of course, people are as they are based on their life experiences. So as we treat the world, so the world will treat us, doesn't necessarily follow unless we find good people who treat us the same as we treat them, hopefully with love and affection in the nicest possible way. And that's not about being addicted to people because I need people to feel right about my life. I don't have to feel right about my life, I can feel wrong about it. Sometimes that happens. But life today is okay, and it's good that people are going to enjoy the carnival, hopefully, even if it rains. There you go. So, what keeps me sober? Friends, which I've met in fellowship, normal people who are not in fellowship, and my fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I say my fellowship, but it's not mine. It is a fellowship, AA, of people who prefer not to drink one day at a time, a desire to be sober, and help other people to a place of recovery from alcoholism. So why does AA work? Well, that's really what these videos have been about over the last few years. And I don't speak for anyone else, I can only speak for me and how it works for me. I can't share in a specific way about anybody else because anonymity is sacrosanct. People share what they will, where they will, about their recovery. And this thing of I can only speak for me is true, because there are no leaders in AA, no one's above another person. So we can only speak for ourselves and our experience, strength and hope, as other people can speak for themselves. So we have a unique, authentic path. Our life as it is today, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes appalling. Sometimes people are driven back to drink because life is just so horrible. And sometimes a relapse will help reinforce that sobriety is better, even when life is the hardest it can be, and we have to deal with the tragedies of life. So how does AA help me? Well, I share on my videos the AA preamble, which is on this little card, and then some of the readings and some of my thoughts over the years and today about what is recovery. So the preamble first. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And when I first came into the fellowship, I was a frightened person, and I was open to suggestions from just about anybody about how to keep sober. I also heard that it was a good idea to stick with the winners, and the winners in AA it's not about finance or romance, it's about sobriety, how to be sober and live life as it is, life on life's terms. And what we have to help us is the 12 principles or 12 steps to help a person keep sober, and the 12 traditions which hold the fellowship together in unity, service and recovery, and they're also on this little card as well. So it's very useful as a mental jogger, and the book I refer to very often, which I can't see in front of me, the Daily Reflections, nope, I put it somewhere, I was reading it earlier, I put it somewhere, but the Daily Reflections is a one-page reflection per day, all about the 12-step programme, to be open, honest and willing to live life sober, and the 12 traditions, all about unity, service and recovery. So the 8th step, 1 page a day, 12 steps, 12 traditions, 12 months. 1 step and tradition per month in the Daily Reflections. So for August, and it's just coming to the end, step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So that's what the videos in August have been about, in a general way. And the tradition 8, says Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centres may employ special workers. So non-professional means that when it comes to recovery, we are non-professional. We're working on experience, strength and hope as the days go by. And life, to an extent, has been made into a science, as if we can control everything these days. But life is more about more of an art, about learning the skills of life, how to love people, be loved back and useful. And the way we are useful is as we determine as we live our lives. So we all have a path which we are treading, and the one thing I know, I can change me, but I can't change you, but I can share experience, strength and hope. So I don't have rose-tinted glasses or rose-tinted spectacles where I see the world as great and there's nothing wrong with it. I see everything, warts and all, about me and my attitudes and behaviour, and probably the attitudes and behaviour of other people, which means that some people I will come to love and like, and some people I will try and love, even if I hate their behaviour. But I won't like everybody I'm going to meet, because we are just different. Different outlooks, different faith, belief, different affiliations to politics, you name it. But the fellowship is there for one thing, which is sobriety. And without it, I suspect I would have perished a long, long time ago, and never found out what it's like to be me. So when I came into recovery, I had to let go the old person who was just a drunk who could not stop, a person who could not cope with life anymore, a person who sought oblivion, who would prefer to sit on a park bench in isolation and homeless, rather than ask for help, or accept, maybe, that I'd burned all my bridges and nobody could trust me enough to let me back in, because I would hurt them in some way. And that's very hard to deal with when you've got to rock bottom. But the moment of clarity I had was simply this: it could not get any worse, or at least I thought it couldn't. And if it couldn't get any worse, I might as well see if there was something that I could do, and if anybody could help me still. which is where fellowship came really to the forefront of my recovery, because no one in the fellowship, or nearly no one, had an axe to grind or was trying to exploit me in any particular way, except for one or two. And when I learned that they were more about exploitation, I just let them go. I was angry for a long time, because of course in recovery we get all our feelings back, and they come back very sharp and very hard, and mostly we're sharp and hard on ourselves, which allows us to be completely resentful about everybody else around us. So these days in the morning I try to set my expectations to 0 around how the day may turn out and how other people may behave. So if I don't expect anything, then I can be very pleasantly surprised by the friendship of strangers inside and outside fellowship, and I can be open, honest and willing to be myself and keep on learning what works and what does not work on a daily basis. There you go. So fellowship does work for me, and it can work for anyone, as long as we have an open, honest, willing approach to changing ourselves. I can change me, I can't change you. And that applies in all walks of life, because even though we might try and control situations, we can't change the attitudes and behaviour of people unless they too are willing to change. And if they're not, why keep banging your head on a brick wall like I did for a long, long time? Which means, in recovery, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about getting free choice back in your own life. Free choice is based on real life and life as it is. Doesn't mean we can just go out there and do whatever we like. We still are obliged and hopefully connected enough to observe how society works and re-establish our own boundaries, saying yes to the right things and no to the wrong things. So, no to drink. I don't actually say that. Every morning I say I'm powerless over alcohol, and if I took a drink life would get unmanageable. And if I did take a drink, I would return to the insanity of doing the same old things, trying to fix myself, and it doesn't work. So let go and let good things happen. Let go and ask in good conscience what is the next right step to take. That helps me a lot, because often I don't know what to do until I ask myself, rather than react in an old historical way, or how to reinforce a new way of doing it, which is, hang on a minute, what should I be doing right now? And do I really want to do this? Do I like what is going to happen next, or do I not like it? And what are my choices around that? So sobriety is all about freedom of choice, freedom within what we know is acceptable, and that is by negotiation normally. So daily reflection for today from the AA Daily Reflections is about lightening the burden. Lightening the burden, showing others who suffer how we were given help, is the very thing which makes life seem so worthwhile to us now. The dark past is the key to life and happiness for others, and that comes from the big book. Since I have been sober, I have been healed of many pains, deceiving my partner, deserting my best friend, and spoiling my mother's hopes for my life. In each case, someone in the program told me of a similar problem, and I was able to share what happened to me. When my story was told, both of us got up with lighter hearts. And, we do share experience, strength and hope on a daily basis about what's happening in the day, how we feel about it. And like any human, when things are going well and we're in good company, we feel okay. But when they're not going well, I know I can tend to isolate and become very depressed, or even fearful about saying I don't feel right about what the world right now. But what I've learned in fellowship is it's okay to share the truth of who I am, how I feel today. Actually, I feel good. Not because the carnival's on, because that's going to mean it's going to be a racket of parties around here before they go off to the carnival tomorrow. But that's all right. Tolerance and love. I don't resent the fact that there's going to be a lot of drinking going on either, because I just know I need not do it to be happy. So my thoughts for today. again, speaking for myself with an exclamation mark. In fellowship I may speak for myself, never speak for you. Experience, strength and hope is particular to each of us. So each of us has an outlook on today. Some happy, some sad. And we are non-professional in a fellowship based on love, not science. We may be learning the art of life together, each with our own particular outlook. Each and every one a teacher in what works or does not work today. And it comes down to can do, change me. Cannot do, change you. The wisdom to cherish always. So a person may be embarked on a different outlook, lifestyle and set of situations. It's not for me, and it's not about me changing other people to my point of view. It's me living my life to what works for me. So I work on it. I just work on what is right for me. And it doesn't have to be right for you. We just share what's going on, and in so doing we make a connection to another human being. We may not ever talk to them again, because that's just the way it is, a visitor from a different part of the world. Or we may see this person forever in meetings from here on in. And we still may not talk, because we just have different outlooks. But value diversity and respect the difference. And we learn a lot about what we don't want to do from what people do actually do with their lives, because that's great. So many different ways to be useful to ourselves and society. And another one, a kind word, a handshake, and how are you doing? This was last night. We never know what the response may be. We may try to help and not be worried if we are not welcome. Because we're not everybody's cup of tea, and I know I'm not. Fear and isolation are so frequent, and then we make a difference as another shares their story to us today. Simply listening to good news or bad news opens the door, offers inclusion on a dark night when loneliness grips and bites deep into the soul. And the odd thing is, even when it looks like everything's going right, we can be extraordinarily alone, and even in the company of a group of people who would wish us well, because we just feel lonely. So a handshake or a hug, without conditions, is a good thing. May not be welcome, and that's okay too, but to open up the door to sharing is the best we can do. Previous years, light of heart, when we wake up each knowing we are never alone, that we can share our good news and our hard news and be supported and challenged helpfully, a heavy heart is lightened. Conscious contact with good conscience, or God, if that is where you are with your beliefs. A broader view, our life choices become more open and realistic today. So sometimes, light of heart, I try and wake up with a light heart, but often I wake up with a heavy head because I'm an insomniac. That's just me. So I take my rest when I can. How am I feeling? Why? And what to do? If I ask myself, how am I feeling? I am acknowledging I do have feelings, and some of them will feel good and some will feel quite horrible. I feel good because I'm not alone, and I can share openly, honestly, and be willing to change. I can cover my needs today, be free of wants, know desires are good, and be open to all possibilities. Good choices, possibilities, options. And a no is as good as a yes. As Gandhi said, an emphatic no is better than a half-hearted yes. That's a paraphrased version. So, when I'm looking at all these things, how I live my life, how I want to be involved, these videos won't work for everyone, I know that. But all I'm doing is sharing experience, strength and hope of what it's like to be in sobriety and how the steps work in action. So we've got to, for me, got to step 8 in this year. 1 step a month, 1 tradition a month, a conscious contact with what's working for me. And I never knew that by having a certain set of principles which are timeless would actually open the door to freedom, which I've never experienced before. Freedom to find out who I am on a daily basis. And if I know a little bit more about who I am, and I've helped somebody, and I've done that today, I've done that already, and it's somebody who is dear to me and I love, and part of family. I live on my own, and I'm pretty happy, and many of my friends live on their own, but sometimes we do get lonely. We just get lonely because we are alone, and then if we go to a fellowship meeting, life changes again. We get an idea, an opportunity. We share time together before a meeting, during a meeting, and after a meeting, and maybe the odd telephone call. And just knowing there are people out there in fellowship. Some days are so awkward because life just feels pretty awful because of life circumstances, and that feeling is not unusual for me. Type 1 diabetes, endocrine system not quite right, clinical depression, other ailments around chronic fatigue, they all affect me and impact me. But I know these are transient times. I have a day like that, and then I have another day where I just feel so connected. It's wonderful, and that's life, the balance of both, good and the bad. But how would we know what was good if we didn't have any more difficult times? Life is difficult, always. And as M. Scott Peck said, if we accept life is difficult, then it's not an issue anymore. And especially being sober when life is difficult, I'm not looking to fix my feelings or find oblivion. At least I hope I'm not. Not like I used to do. I feel very grateful to be alive, a fellowship of men and women who share experience, strength and hope. Free at the point of meetings. The fellowship not affiliated to anything, but everybody in fellowship affiliated, full of beliefs, opinions and outlooks. So we take what works for us and respect and value the diversity, and try and invite more people who need help to get help. That's the way it works for me. Anyway, enough for today. My videos have been a bit sporadic and at different times over the last few days. I have to fall in with the regime I'm working to, and it's been a bit difficult from the medical point of view, but I work with it. One other thing, if AA is not for you or your substance is different, there are fellowships out there for substance and behaviour. All I suggest is you find one fellowship which works primarily for you. Try adopt the principles, the 12 steps and 12 traditions as they can be lived. Don't try and do 2 sets of steps or 2 sets of traditions or multiple steps around different substances and behaviour, or you will spend your whole life trying to emulate something which doesn't exist, and that is the perfect recovery. The perfect recovery is imperfectly perfect, progress and not perfection. One step at a time, and there is no rush to do anything except be included, learn what sober may be and how it works. In any moment when there's difficulty, the serenity prayer or meditation, depending on how you view it and see it, it can be to God or good conscience as you come to understand for yourself, and it's your own understanding of how this prayer or exhortation or meditation can work for you. It's the can do. I can change my attitude and behaviour as time passes. I cannot change your attitude and behaviour as time passes. And I'm continually learning the wisdom around these things. So the serenity prayer as it is stated, and it's how it works for you in your life. Can do, can't do, wisdom to know the difference. To God. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me in the moment and just for today.